Out come the big boys. I went to my garage and I got out an old chisel and a mallet.
Hi guys, Wendy here again from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. Today I'm going to do an experiment with UV resin and 2-part epoxy resin. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that they don't stick, they come up apart, and I think it depends on how you do it. This is my own opinion, so I thought I'd try it out because I don't know hand on heart whether I'm right or not. So I thought, I'm going to do an experiment. I did say a few weeks ago that I was going to, and so I'm going to. Let's see how I get on with this, and you never know, we might learn something as well.
So I'm starting off by pouring some resin. I've put a couple of pigments into a coaster mould. I've put the pigments in hopefully to make it more visible so that you can see what's going on when it's cured. Squirting it with some isopropyl alcohol to get rid of the bubbles, and I left it to cure. 24 hours later, and it's time to demould. Now I'm going to mask up half of this because I want to sand half of it. Most people say that when you put resin onto resin you need to sand it to get it to stick, so I thought the only fair way to try this out is to sand half of it and to leave the other half not sanded. So I've got some 600 grit wet dry sanding paper. I'm just going to put some water onto the coaster so that the dust doesn't go everywhere. And I'm sanding it just gently. Cleaning it off and drying it off. Now it's really important obviously that resin isn't wet when you go to apply more resin. So taking off the masking tape to reveal this half sanded coaster, you can see where it's shiny, you can see where it's dull. The dull side is the sanded side. And later on I do actually mark so it's easier to see. Now this is resin that I've had left over from another project, and it was clear resin, so I put some red pigment in it, just a little bit, so that you can actually see the difference between the two resins. The colour didn't really make that much difference, but I thought I'd try it anyway. So I've left this for about a week. This is when I realised you can't really see the difference between the two, so I thought I'd better draw a line. Write one as sanded and one as non-sanded, so that it's easier for you to see and for me to show you. So the non-sanded part is on the left and the sanded part is on the right. Now I've got a tool with a sharp edge, and this has been curing now for actually about a week, so it is really cured up. So my first thought was I'll push the tool underneath or between the two resins to see if I can lift it off that way. Now as you can see, it starts to kind of crumble at the edges, but that's as far as I can get with it. I keep trying and trying and trying, and yeah, it won't budge, and that's the non-sanded part. On the sanded part it was just the same, would not budge. So I decided to try some other way of getting this resin off. Out come the big boys. I went to my garage and I got out an old chisel and a mallet. And I thought, if it's not coming off with this, it's not coming off. So on the non-sanded side, you can see every time I'm hitting it, the camera is moving because of the vibration. I am going for this. I'm really, really trying. It wasn't going anywhere. So then comes the Dremel. So my thought process here was, if I cut through far enough to the layer beneath, I might be able to lift it up with my tool, but it wasn't happening. It's on both sides. I tried both sides. Neither side would budge. I actually thought it would lift up on the non-sanded side. I thought it would come off easier. So after trying several times, several attempts on both sides, I decided to clean up and call it a day for that one. So hopefully you'll be able to see here that neither side budged. Lines through it, cut lines through it, little chips on the outside, and that's about it. On to side 2. I've already sanded half of it. I'm just going to mark it with a pen to show you where the sand mark is. And I'm writing sanded, non-sanded. And I also write on there later UV, so that we know this is the UV side. So this is the UV resin that I use all the time. It's my go-to UV resin. What I thought I'd do was I'd give it a little bit of colour again, like I did with the 2-part epoxy resin, just a little bit. So I'm using this pigment, this red pigment that I got in a box set from Amazon. I'm just putting 2 or 3 drops into the resin just to give it some colour so they can see the difference. Now unfortunately with any pigment it does tend to lose its colour after a while, but I'm putting it on both sides of the coaster and I'm going to cure it up after torching it to get rid of the bubbles, and I do leave it under the lamp for quite a long time. It only needs to be under there for 2 minutes, but I'll leave it under there for at least 5. Now as you can see the colour is almost gone, but you can slightly see it. But any liquid colour in resin will weaken the resin. Even if only a little bit, it will weaken it. So then I thought, right, first test, UV non-sanded. And I'm like, really? This is like, oh my goodness. That is cured for over 5 minutes. So let's try the sanded side. That must be better. Really? It's like chewing gum. It's not cured at all well. Okay then, lesson learned. Let's try it with no colorant this time. So I'm not giving up. I'm going to try exactly the same test on the same side, but with clear resin from the bottle. No colorant included. Let's see how this one goes. I was really surprised by the last results, to be honest. Quick bit of heat for the bubbles and under the lamp for 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, let's see if this is cured properly. Definitely sounds cured. It feels harder, there's no stickiness. So will it lift up? I think this test is proving to be an eye-opener for me. I had no idea it would be that easy to take off. Well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. Those bits, simple, it came off so easily. Okay, it's definitely cured. You can see it shining, I'm sure. Last chance UV resin. So now on to the sanded side. So I figured, well, the sanded side, it must grip better, surely. It must grip better on the sanded side. There's something for it to grip to. Oh wow, it is not gripping at all. I was wrong. I'm so glad I've done this experiment. I've learnt a lot from it and I hope you have too. UV resin does not stick to 2-part epoxy resin, even if you sand it. Now, I'm not saying you can't put the two together. You can. If you want to cover the UV resin with epoxy resin afterwards, there's no reason why you can't do the two together. This is an experiment with just one type of UV resin. I'm not saying all of them will be the same. I wouldn't know, I haven't tried all of them, but I've tried this one, and this one really surprised me. I thought the UV resin would put up a bit more of a struggle than it did. It didn't put up any struggle really, it was so easy to get off. Like I said, this has really surprised me, and all those pieces just look like shattered glass.
Well, I'm so glad I've done this experiment. I've learnt lots from this and I hope you have too. 2-part epoxy resin does stick to 2-part epoxy resin, and both sides, sanded or unsanded, it didn't come off at all. No matter what I did to it, I could not get that off. On the other side, the flip side, the UV resin side, nothing's on there. Sanded or unsanded, it weren't staying. Now that does surprise me, but I'm glad I did the experiment because now I know. If you're going to put UV resin on top of 2-part epoxy resin and want it to stay, then you're best sealing it with 2-part epoxy resin. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've got something out of it and learned something with me. Come back and see me next week. You never know what I'm going to go up. Never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Bye for now.
Hold on a minute. Haven't we forgotten something? I've got to announce the winner, haven't I? Right, let's have a look, see who the winner is for the 3,000 subscriber giveaway. So as you can see from the top right hand corner, it is January the 25th, 2022, and I'm going to YouTube to copy the link from the video into the random comment generator. I then check the duplicate filter and write in giveaway, which is the comment I asked you to put in. The program then has to find the comments that apply. It's finding 123 comments, and I press start. And the winner is Mary Cronin. Well done, Mary, congratulations. If you can contact me by my email that's on the information page, that would be great. Thanks very much everyone for joining in with this, and if you haven't won this time, then maybe next time.
Have a great week. Bye for now.